Okay, this week's parsha, the parshas of Tazria, Metzora, talk about the nega tsaras. Tsaras is a leprosy. It's a biblical leprosy. Today, it's not something that we're so familiar with. The parsha goes into detail about if a person's afflicted with tsaras, what do you do? So the first thing it says is that it has to be inspected. Is this tsaras? People could have many different skin ailments. You don't know if it's tsaras. So the pasuk says, "V'huva el hakoyin." So after we already know that it is tsaras, still the professional can't say that you're tamei, can't say that you have tsaras. You need the koyin to look at it, and the koyin has to say, this is tsaras. Now what happens if it's tsaras? The person has to move, the person has to go outside of the three communities. There was the inner community where the Mishkan was, then there was the Shevet Levi, then there were all of the Yisraelim. The person had to go outside of all of those three camps. Not only outside of those camps, they weren't all together. Every person that had tsaras, Badad Yashav, the pasuk says, had to sit alone. Okay, now, two things. Why does he have to sit alone? And the second thing is, what's the role that the kohen has in this story? The kohen is not so fluent or versed in what tsaras is. The other person that looks at it will say, the other person doesn't have to be a kohen. It could be a regular dermatologist. But the kohen has to say, based on what he's saying, and I'm looking at it, it's tsaras. The explanation is that we know, we learned this in Pirkei Avos about Aaron HaKoyen, Havei Talmidav Shal Aaron, Oyev Shalom, Beroidev Shalom, Oyev Esabrios, in the Karvam LaTorah. The example of a person that goes beyond to be sensitive and caring for another person is exemplified in Aaron and in his family, the Kohanim. Because a person that gets afflicted with tsaras is a very severe thing, especially because it's connected to speech. The source of tsaras was if a person spoke lashon hara about somebody else. So you need the kohen to look at it and say, because the kohen knows that it's going to be humiliating. The person's going to have to go out to be alone, which leads us, why does he have to be alone? Because the source of the tsaras is because he spoke negatively about somebody else. A way to recalibrate that is be alone. Be alone, they won't have that opportunity to speak. So you go to the kohen, and the kohen is the one that if a kohen, with all his sensitivity, still feels that the person has tsaras, even the recipient, the person that's told he has tsaras, accepts it in more of a transformative way. Why? Because the kohen sees and cares about him. So the kohen sends him out. Now, somebody could look in the parshas of Tazria Metzora and say, none of this has to do with us. The Rebbe in Likkutei Sichos teaches something beautifully. He says that all of this applies to us today. When you say something to another person, we're the lens of Aaron. We're the lens of a kohen. Think, am I being helpful by telling this to another person? Am I just hurting this person? Should I be the one that says something harsh to another person, but maybe when I say it, the person's not going to accept it the same way